What's going on, everyone? Talen here, and welcome to another Marvel Future Fight video. Alright, so in this one here, we're going to be taking a look at Doc Ock against Galactus. So I got him to level 70, so I was curious to see how he would do against Galactus, so I went ahead and brought him in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at my build here before we jump into the actual gameplay. So for his gears here, I don't have any Uru equipped on him. He pretty much just got to level 70, and I haven't done much else in terms of investment. For his skills, I have the 3rd skill leveled up, and then I have the 5th skill leveled up. The other ones don't really need it. This was for the all defense down, and this guy right here was to get to that 100% chance for all damage immunity, or all damage immune, because I don't think it started at 100%. His isolate set, I actually have Hawk's Eye on him because he did need some skill cooldown, because he didn't have any skill cooldown on his gears here. None of them had skill cooldown as a default stat, so he was lacking that a little bit. For the Obelisk here, I don't have anything too impressive. I just got a ignore dodge, ignore defense 140 proc. I was just kind of leaving this on him to test him out, so keep that in mind when you see the gameplay against Galactus here, that he is only using a 140 proc, so there's a lot more room for improvement in terms of his damage. His uniform here we only have at rare, so I haven't upgraded that all the way either. So as you can see here, not a ton of investment in him. He's still got a long ways to go. So they'll give you an idea of his power level. And I do have his awakening skill unlocked. I unlocked this before the changes because there's no way that I got to 1,000 Mandalay gem fragments already. So yeah, I already had this awakened, and the awakening skill for Doc Ock is actually a pretty significant source of his damage. So of course now with the change, it's going to be a lot harder to get it unlocked, but if you are going to be using Doc Ock at a high level, then you definitely will need this awakening skill. So keep that in mind. What else we need to go over? Go over the details here. So for the details, you can see his attack speed is pretty good. We're about 6% shy there of maxing that out. Our crit rate is a little bit low. Our crit damage is a little bit low. Our ignore defense and skill cooldown are capped out, which are the main two things that I'm aiming for in a lot of my builds. Yeah, so that's what he's looking like. Again, a lot of room for improvement, but I just kind of wanted to test him out after getting him to level 70. So let's go ahead and jump into the gameplay and see how he did against Galactus. Alright, so here we are loading into the fight. We've got Gringo and our alliance mate helping us out again here. This time Gringo's coming in with a little bit better of a team. He's using his tier 3 Iron Man, which I don't think he has the Iron Man too crazy built. He doesn't have any, I don't think he has a CTP on him, but I think he has a regular damage proc, so the Iron Man should be helping us out a little bit here. For the team I decided to go with, I went with Beast and Shuri for the leadership, and also of course for the tier 2 passive damage. And what I'm going to be trying to do here with Doc Ock is, if my awakening skill is available, then I will be using that with my damage proc. If not, then I try to line up the damage proc on the 5th skill, and then after I do the damage proc, I use the 4th skill for the iframe, and then I do the 3rd skill for the buff, and I go back into the 5th skill. Or maybe I'm doing it the other way around. No, yeah, I am doing it that way. When we get a little bit out of rotation here, sometimes I do the 3rd skill and then the 4th skill. But either way, I always do the 3 and 4 and proc on the 5. And then as you can see here, I've got my awakening skill going. And it does decent damage because you can actually see the health bars moving when I do that skill. If I get my damage proc to activate on the awakening skill. So that's going to be most of Doc Ock's damage actually here, because on the 5th skill right there, that was the 5th skill, you can see that there wasn't a ton of damage compared to the awakening skill. So the 5th skill right there is doing like 20-30% of a bar. The awakening skill was doing like 2 bars or something like that, so it's quite a big difference. So yeah, so here's the awakening skill. As you can see, the bar starts moving, so that is pretty close to 2 bars or around that area. So that's definitely all of his damage, which is a little bit sad because you're going to need that awakening skill if you want to at least do Galactus here. And even for high stages of War Boss Ultimate, I found that you really need that skill because I was trying him in, gosh, what was it, like stage 70 something of Proxima, and he was doing good damage with the 5th skill, but every time I did that awakening skill, he started actually moving bars, and I was doing the combo with Weapon Hex and Captain America, so I would call them in, and then I would do the 5th skill. I'd get a couple bars to melt, And then I try it again, and I do that with the Awakening skill, and I get to see multiple bars melting. So the difference in power is quite significant here. So yeah, they really beefed up the Awakening skills after the release of them, because they weren't too exciting when they first came out. But then when Doc Ock and Red Skull here ended up getting their Awakening skill, yeah, the Awakening skills got a massive boost in terms of their like buff to the character, in terms of like the all attack, all defense, and like the effects that it has, but then also just the damage of the skill itself. So yeah, a lot of that, like I said, sadly is from the Awakening skill for Doc Ock. So if you wanted to get similar kind of performance out of yours, you are going to need that Awakening skill. Right now, I do think that Red Skull is going to be a better option than Doc Ock if you have to choose between what character to get the Awakening skill for. So that's probably who I'd go with first if you get enough materials, of course, to awaken it. But right now we're just letting Doc Ock go to town here and try to take down Galactus, or at least do a good dent in the damage, or a good dent in his health here. So for this particular fight, though, we are not going to be able to clear it, so we are just going to be fighting for the entire 10 minutes here, and then at the end we'll be able to see how much damage Doc Ock actually did, to see if he will actually be a viable option here for GBR, at least for Galactus, because he's going to do a lot better against Master Mold, because Master Mold is just kind of weaker in general in terms of the defenses, and yeah, just you can do more damage to Master Mold than you can to Galactus. So he's going to perform better there, obviously. And of course you can play on the day when you have a blast typing for Master Mold, so you can have type advantage, and that will also help out quite a bit. So there's a few things that give him a little more value over there. But in terms of Galactus here, he's not going to be your first choice to go to. But if you like Doc Ock and you have him built up, then yeah, he can perform quite well here. As long as you have two decent teammates to help you out, you should be able to clear the fight. So we're just going to let this go a little bit, show off this tier 3, this Awakening skill proccing like halfway through this, so we missed out on a lot of our damage here. So we'll skip ahead a little bit here, because like I said, we are going to take the entire 10 minutes for this particular fight just to see what kind of damage Doc Ock is doing. So let's catch up in a little bit here. Alright, so we're down to the last 2 minutes here, and as you can see, he still has a lot of health left. So yeah, like I said, we're not clearing this, but we're hoping for a good amount of damage from Doc Ock here. And I didn't switch a whole ton to Beast to pass over that buff, because I can definitely do that when he's doing some of his unavoidable attacks. So when he's doing like a meteorite attack, or when he's doing the purple circles on the ground, I could be switching over to Beast and then passing over the buff, but I only passed it over at the beginning, at least from what I remember, because of course I am just talking over the footage here. This is not, I'm not playing it live right now while I'm talking. So yeah, I can't really remember, but I can get a little more damage that way. And again, remember, this is only a 140 damage proc, so even though it looks like the damage might not be too hot here, if you put like a CTP of energy on him, or, well, he doesn't have a ton of hits, so probably not a CTP of energy wouldn't really be that good of a choice. But if you get like a, you know, a 180 to 200% damage proc, you're going to be doing a lot better. I mean, if you're crazy and you've got a ton of CTPs of Rage laying around, if you give him the CTP of Rage, then he'll be doing some massive damage that way. But overall, just like a higher damage proc would be, you know, a little bit better for here for Doc Ock, because his cooldowns are very manageable. He has an 8-second cooldown on his 5th skill, and then when you go to get the buff on the 3rd skill, luckily the attack doesn't like start doing hits immediately. So, oh, it's actually a 9-second cooldown on his 5th skill. I thought it was only 8-second. I just saw that 9 pop up. Maybe it's like 8.5 or something like that. But I don't tend to like get too out of line for my rotations for Doc Ock. I tend to always proc on the 5th skill. I don't have too much of an issue keeping his damage proc in line, so that is a bonus for him. And as you see right there, of course, I missed the damage proc, but generally it's pretty good. So we ended up doing 23, almost 24 million damage in the 10 minutes. That is like just at the threshold of what I like to have as a cutoff for considering if a character can actually do the Galactus fight or not, because I consider 1/3 of the damage over the 10 minutes a acceptable amount for the character to do. As long as they can do 1/3 of the damage, I see it as two other people have the exact same build and team as me for their Doc Ock, then we will be able to clear Galactus. Like I mentioned in the past, I don't know if that's a good bar for me to set or not. If you guys think that just doing 23 or doing 1/3 of the damage it still counts as a fail, then let me know. But for right now, I will count that as a pass. So if you have a little bit better built Doc Ock than me, then you can definitely do Galactus as long as you have two capable teammates. So that's going to be it for this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed, and of course I will catch you in the next one.